Listen up, chosen ones. The world is watching you, analyzing your every move, trying to decode the mystery that is you. Not because they admire you, but because they fear what they cannot control. You are the glitch in their system, the crack in their illusion of power. They don't understand you, and that terrifies them. Before we go deeper, if you know you were chosen, if you feel the undeniable truth that your existence is shaking the very fabric of reality, then do this: smash that like button, subscribe, and comment below. I cannot be controlled. Because by standing together, we disrupt the system. Now, let's break it down. Imagine a world where everything follows a pattern. People are predictable. Easy to categorize, easy to manipulate. That's the world they built. A world where people follow orders, chase approval, and live inside invisible cages. But then, there's you. You don't fit the mold. You don't bow to their systems. And that drives them insane. You've noticed it, haven't you? The way they watch you. The way their eyes linger a little too long, the way they whisper when you walk by, the way they seem obsessed with figuring you out. It's not admiration, it's fear wrapped in curiosity. They study you, not to uplift you, but to find your weakness. To understand what makes you different, what makes you resistant to their manipulation. But here's the truth: they will never figure you out. Because chosen ones aren't built from the same material as the rest of the world. You were crafted in the fire of trials, strengthened by storms meant to destroy you, and anointed by a power they cannot comprehend. They search for a blueprint to explain you, but there is none. There is no formula for what you are. You're not a product of society, you're a force of the divine. And because they can't place you in a box, because they can't control you, they fear you. The human brain craves certainty. People need to understand things, to label them, to put them in neat little categories. That's how they maintain their illusion of control. But you break every rule they have. Your mere existence is a contradiction to everything they've been taught. You don't operate on their timeline, you don't play by their rules, and you don't seek their approval. And that is a nightmare for them. Ever noticed how they react to your silence? They panic. They assume you're hiding something. They project their fears onto you, creating elaborate theories about who you are and what you're capable of. But the truth is simple: your silence is power. While they scramble to understand, you remain unreadable, untouchable. You do not reveal yourself to the unworthy. You do not explain your power to those who wouldn't understand it. And that infuriates them. They push you, hoping you'll react, hoping they can crack your code. But you don't. Instead, you watch. You observe. You move in silence while they drown in their own confusion. And here's where it gets even deeper: your very presence exposes their weaknesses. They see your confidence, and it reveals their insecurity. They see your resilience, and it exposes their fragility. They see your peace, and it reminds them of their chaos. You are a mirror. And they hate what they see when they look into you. They don't fear you because you've done something wrong. They fear you because you exist beyond their comprehension. You might wonder, why do they even care? Why does my existence bother them so much? It's simple: because you represent everything they've been told is impossible. They've been trained to believe that power comes from wealth, from status, from connections. But then they see you. Someone who doesn't chase those things, someone who doesn't bend, someone who moves with an authority they cannot explain. And suddenly, they start questioning everything. How is this possible? How do they walk with such confidence? How do they succeed without selling out? How do they keep rising despite every attempt to bring them down? They don't want to admire you. They want to break you. Because if they can prove you're just like them, weak, controlled, dependent, then they won't have to face the truth that they have been living a lie. They will test you. They will push you. They will try to bait you into proving yourself. But listen, chosen one, you don't owe them anything. Your power does not need validation. You don't need their approval to exist. You don't need their recognition to thrive. Your success is inevitable, because it was written long before they ever had an opinion on you. And so, they will continue to watch. They will continue to whisper. They will continue to dig, searching for an answer they will never find. Because you were never meant to be understood. You were meant to stand apart. To rise above. To walk a path that only the chosen can walk. And they will remain where they are, trapped in the prison of their own limited understanding. They will never control you. They will never own you. And they will never, ever break you. Because you, chosen one, are the storm they never saw coming. If you know this message speaks to you, if you feel this power in your soul, then I need you to do 3 things. Keycap 1, smash that like button to let the world know the chosen ones are rising. Keycap 2, subscribe and join the movement. We do not walk alone. Keycap 3, comment below, I cannot be controlled. Because the more we rise, the harder it is for them to ignore the truth. We are here. We are watching. And we are unstoppable. They watch you. They listen. They analyze your every move. Every word, every moment of silence. But the more they search, the more frustrated they become, because no matter how hard they try, no matter how deeply they dig, they cannot figure you out. You are a code that cannot be cracked. A puzzle with no final piece, and that drives them insane. Somewhere, right now, someone is thinking about you. Not because they admire you, not because they care, but because they need to understand why they can't break you. They've built a system where they believe they are in control. Where they can predict people's thoughts, reactions, and weaknesses. Where they can categorize and manipulate anyone who steps into their world. But then, there's you. The one that won't conform, so they investigate, they study your habits, they dissect your words, they search for patterns in your behavior, hoping to find something, anything, that will allow them to predict your next move. But the harder they try, the less they find, because you don't operate like the rest of the world. While others follow predictable cycles of doubt, hesitation, and fear, you move differently. You don't seek validation, so they can't control you with approval. You don't fear rejection, so they can't manipulate you with exclusion. You don't chase trends, so they can't use society's expectations against you. To them, this is a nightmare, because how do you control someone who is already free? So they watch. They question. They pry into your life, desperate to find out what makes you different. But with every answer they think they've found, a dozen more questions arise. And this is where it gets worse for them, because not only can't they understand you, but your very existence forces them to confront a truth they've been avoiding their entire lives. They want you to be predictable. They need you to fit into their definition of success or failure. They desperately hope they can categorize you, because the alternative is that their entire worldview is wrong, and that's something they can't handle. They have spent their whole lives believing that people fall into neat little categories. The hero, the one who follows the rules and earns their place in society. The villain, the one who defies the system and deserves to be cast out. The lucky one, the one who succeeds only because of fortune, not effort. The fool, the one who fails because they didn't play the game correctly. They need you to fit into one of these. Because if you don't, It means there are possibilities beyond what they've been taught, and that terrifies them. So they try to place a label on you. Maybe you're a fraud, maybe you're just lucky. Maybe you're too arrogant, too reckless, too different. But every label they try to put on you slips right off, because you are none of the above. You are a force of nature, you are an outlier, you are proof that the path to power is not what they've been told it is, and that shakes them to their core, because if you don't fit into their labels, then who else is out there? If you are living outside their system, then what else have they been lied to about? If you have shattered their expectations, then maybe their entire understanding of success, power, and destiny is an illusion, and that is a reality they are not ready to accept. Here's what really unsettles them. They can't track where you came from. They can't trace your rise, can't understand how you got here, can't explain your success with a simple formula. They look at you and think, there must be something I'm missing. No one just becomes powerful. No one just thrives outside the system. There has to be a reason, but there isn't, not one they will ever understand, because your journey? It defies logic. You don't follow the normal progression of struggle and success. You don't check the boxes they expect you to check. You don't play by the rules they think govern the world. Maybe you came from nothing, but you didn't stay there. Maybe you had every odds stacked against you, but you broke through them anyway. Maybe you should have failed, but instead, you rose. And that scares them more than anything, because the world tells them that success is a formula, that it can be planned, predicted, and controlled. But you are proof that destiny does not play by their rules. They search for explanations. They try to find the missing piece that will make your story make sense to them, but they never will. Because your path was never meant to be understood by them. Your story is not theirs to explain. Your rise is not theirs to validate. Your purpose is not theirs to control. And that is why they will never stop watching. They will never stop questioning. They will never stop fearing what they do not understand. Because deep down, they know, you were never meant to fit into their world. You were meant to rise above it. At first, they tried to tear you down. They ridiculed you, doubted you, and did everything they could to convince themselves that you were nothing special. They wanted to prove that you were just like everyone else, ordinary, predictable, controllable. But when their tactics failed, when they saw that their opinions and efforts had no effect on you, something strange happened. They became obsessed. What started as resistance turned into fascination. They couldn't understand you, but they couldn't look away. They couldn't control you, but they couldn't ignore your power. They couldn't break you. So now they wanted to become you. They started watching more closely, not to find your weaknesses, but to study your strengths. What makes you different? Why are you so unshakable? How do you move through the world with such certainty? They desperately wanted to find the secret to your strength. They wanted to imitate you, to own what you have, to capture the force that makes you untouchable. But they never will. Because what makes you special cannot be copied. It's not in your words, not in your appearance, not in your strategies. It's in your essence, in the divine power that flows through you. And no matter how much they study, no matter how much they try to mimic your presence, they will always fall short, because your power was never something to be learned. It was something you were born with. They love predictability. They need to understand everything around them to feel in control. So when they meet someone like you, someone who defies every expectation, they feel powerless. At first, they assumed they could map out your actions, predict your next move, keep you contained within the boundaries of their understanding. But you shattered that illusion. You didn't react the way they expected. You didn't seek their approval. You didn't defend yourself when they attacked you. You moved differently, and that was terrifying to them. Because how do you fight something you don't understand? They tried to manipulate you, assuming that if they pushed hard enough, you'd break. But instead, you stood still. They expected you to lash out, to beg for validation, to conform to their expectations. But instead, you kept rising. And now, they are left without a plan. they have no idea how to handle you. You are not just another player in their game. You are the storm that wipes the game off the board, and that realization, that destroys them. You don't have to scream to be heard. You don't have to explain yourself to be understood. You don't have to fight for attention. Your presence demands it naturally. And this drives them insane, because they thrive on drama, noise, conflict. They expect you to engage, to defend yourself, to argue, to react, but you don't, and that is what scares them the most. Your silence is louder than any words could ever be. When you do not explain yourself, they are forced to fill in the blanks. They start creating their own stories, inventing scenarios in their minds about who you are and what you're thinking. Are they planning something? Are they more powerful than we thought? Why aren't they reacting? What do they know that we don't? They become paranoid, trapped in their own imaginations, haunted by questions they can never answer. Your silence forces them to reflect on themselves, and what they see terrifies them, because you are not the one in turmoil, they are. Your calm is a mirror that reveals their own chaos. Your self-assurance exposes their insecurities. Your stillness makes them realize how much they crave external validation. And the worst part, they cannot shake this feeling. They try to distract themselves. They try to pretend they don't care. They try to act as if your existence doesn't affect them. But it does. It consumes them, because you are the one thing they will never understand. The world makes sense to them because it follows rules. There are patterns to success, to failure, to human behavior, or at least, that's what they believed, until they met you, and suddenly, nothing makes sense anymore, because you don't follow their rules. You don't react the way they expect. You don't need the things they crave. You don't operate within the limits they believe are absolute. You break every pattern they know. People should crumble under pressure. People should beg for approval. People should care about status and reputation. But you don't. You move freely, without hesitation, without fear, without the need for permission, and that destroys their perception of reality. Because if you are real, then everything they've been taught must be questioned, and that shakes them to their core. They desperately try to find a way to categorize you. They look for patterns in your behavior. They try to create rules that will allow them to understand you. But every attempt fails, because you are not bound by the same limitations as them. You don't exist inside their structure, you exist beyond it, and that is why they fear you. They will never control you. They will never predict you. They will never break you. Because you are the unknown force they will spend their entire lives trying to understand. And the more they try, the further they fall into their own confusion. The world runs on control. People chase power through titles, wealth, status, and validation, because they believe these things determine who holds influence and who does not. They have built a system where almost everyone has a price. Some will sell their loyalty for money. Some will compromise their beliefs for social approval. Some will betray their values for a place at the table. But then there's you. You don't care about their money. You don't chase their recognition. You don't need their permission to be who you are. And that terrifies them, because they don't know how to manipulate someone who cannot be bought. They have tried before, offering you fake friendships, tempting you with opportunities designed to make you dependent on their system. But every time, you walked away, because you were never meant to serve their world. You were meant to exist beyond it, and that makes you the most dangerous type of person they've ever encountered. Not because you seek to destroy their system, but because your existence alone proves that it is not absolute. In a world full of masks, you refuse to wear one, while others shape-shift to fit expectations. You remain unapologetically yourself, and that is the greatest act of rebellion. They have spent their lives hiding behind illusions, pretending to be someone they are not, building false images of success, shaping their personalities based on what others want to see. Their world thrives on deception, performance, and control. And then there's you. You don't lie to fit in. You don't pretend to be something you're not. You don't need validation to confirm your identity. And this alone makes you a threat, because if you can be real in a world full of fakes, what does that say about them? It forces them to confront a truth they have been running from their entire lives. They have spent their existence being something they are not, and you stand as a living reminder that they didn't have to. You are proof that freedom is possible, that they could have chosen authenticity, but instead, they chose the illusion, and now they hate you for it, not because you have wronged them, but because your existence exposes their weakness. They have tried everything. They have watched you, studied you, analyzed you, and attempted to categorize you. But no matter how deeply they search, no matter how many labels they try to place on you, they will never understand, because you are not a puzzle meant to be solved. You are not an equation meant to be balanced. You are not a concept meant to be simplified. You are a force, a presence that exists beyond human comprehension, and that is what they will never accept, because if they cannot control you, if they cannot label you, if they cannot predict you, then that means there are things in this world that exist beyond their grasp, and for those who crave control, for those who seek to own, define, and manipulate everything around them, that is the most terrifying realization of all. They will spend their entire lives trying to break the code that is you, but you were never meant to be decoded. You were never meant to be contained. You are an enigma, a mystery, a phenomenon that defies their understanding, and no matter how hard they try, they will never solve you. Let them watch, let them speculate, let them remain trapped in their obsession with understanding you, because you do not owe them answers. You do not need to explain yourself. You do not need to justify your existence. You do not need to seek approval from those who will never comprehend your greatness. You were not placed on this earth to be studied. You were not given this power to be dissected. You were chosen to walk a path that only you can walk, and those who cannot understand, they were never meant to. They will spend their days wondering. They will lose sleep trying to figure out what makes you unstoppable. They will question everything they know, all because you exist beyond their reach, and that is their burden to carry. So keep moving, keep rising, keep breaking every expectation they have placed on you. Because at the end of the day, you are not just another player in their game. You are the force that changes everything.